Hey there, it's Tara here from Raw Food Livin', and I want to show you in this video what I keep in my pantry, living in a tiny home with very little space, me being a raw vegan and my boyfriend being a regular vegan. So these are the items we keep in our pantry. Alright, so I'm going to start at the very top of the pantry, which you can't see in this view, but I will show you closer up. Basically, we've got some basic dishes, my favorite mug that I love drinking tea out of, and my favorite Tree Tribe water bottle that I use for storing my smoothies and fresh juices. The next shelf down is all of our bottled items. And like I said before, I eat a primarily raw vegan diet here in Sweden, and my boyfriend eats just a regular vegan diet, an assortment of cooked and raw foods. So the first items we have are oils, and so I've got olive oil and sesame oil that I love to use for making a raw pad thai. We've got balsamic vinegar, we've got some canned veggies here. I've got a syrup that I use for my tea that I found to be the best replacement for honey. It's a syrup made out of sugar beets here in Sweden. Then I've got some digestive enzymes for if I do ever have to eat complicated items in my diet, like any cooked foods, or if I'm on campaign with Sea Shepherd. Those things are an absolute essential in my diet. I love having those digestive enzymes. Then we've got some vanilla extract and these echinacea throat lozenges for any time that we might be feeling under the weather here. Next, I've got my go-to smoothie powder, which I use almost every single day in my smoothies. It's by a brand called Koya, and if you're interested in getting some of this, you can find it in the shop on my website, rawfoodlivin.com. I partner with these guys because they are the most high quality smoothie powder I found for my smoothies that don't contain complicated ingredients. It's just organic, freeze-dried fruits and vegetables. So I love their products, they're awesome. Next thing I've got is some dark agave syrup that I use for different raw desserts. Then I've got peanut butter and Nutella, vegan Nutella, which is a guilty but very delicious pleasure of mine. And then I've got some cashew butter, and when we were in Germany, my boyfriend got some of the speculoos spread, which is basically cookie butter, ground up cookies into cookie butter. Then he's got some of his cereal that he eats for breakfast. And moving on to the next shelf. This is where I store most of my nuts and seeds that I have. And I generally eat more nuts and seeds in the wintertime, especially living here in Sweden, because the fresh fruit isn't as plentiful. I would love it if it is, but it just isn't. So I eat a fair amount of nuts and seeds. Primarily though, I eat cashews, which are amazing. I try to buy them in bulk here, and I keep them either in plastic containers or plastic bags. I have been thinking a lot of going towards zero waste, but I find it is so hard in Scandinavia because almost everything is wrapped in plastic. And currently, when I go to the grocery store, I actually have to walk to go get groceries. I don't have a car. Public transportation is available, and it's also expensive. So I've been trying to find a balance of trying to reuse these plastic bags that I store my cashews in that I can get at bulk from the grocery store. And anytime I can buy in bulk, I always will. And I'm trying to lean towards more zero waste, not using a lot of plastic, but it's definitely tricky here. So I've got my nuts and seeds, I've got my cashews, which I obviously have a lot of because I use them for salad dressings, and I also use them in smoothies to make raw milkshakes, which are amazing. I also have these chia crackers that I buy from 7-Eleven. They're raw chia crackers, and because I don't have a dehydrator yet to make them myself, these are what I eat for snacks, just dipping in dressings or eating with veggies. And they're really good. Then I've got macadamia nuts, which I use for raw desserts and also raw dressings. And I've got a fair amount of coconut here. So I've got shredded coconut, flaked coconut, and then roasted flaked coconut. Mostly I use the coconut for my dog Pepsi's food because he loves coconut, or just giving it to him as snacks. He'll do all sorts of tricks for the coconut because he really loves it. Next, back here, I've got raisins. So I've got Sultana raisins, I've got Thompson raisins, and then just a container, plastic container that I take on the go with me if I carry raisins while I'm at work or something like that. Then in the front, I've got a few powders. I've got chaga mushroom powder from Hybrid Herbs, which is another company that I'm partnered with, who is based both in the UK and in America. You can also find their products on the shop on my website. Then I've got two more powders which I'm not partnered with. They're just the local ones I can find here. One is cacao powder, the other is acai powder. I use both of those in my smoothies. And next I've got more hybrid herbs powder. First off, matcha powder, which I love making raw kind of matcha latte smoothie combinations. I just really love the taste of matcha, of green tea powder. It's amazing. And then I've got pink dragon fruit powder or pitaya powder, which doesn't have a lot of flavor, but it makes the most amazing colors. It turns everything bright pink. It's really, really beautiful. Then I've got chia seeds for making chia pudding with. That's mostly what I use them for. I don't usually add them to smoothies, but chia pudding is really good. And then I have just an assortment of nuts here that I use for different things. I've got pecans and raw almonds, and then pine nuts, or not pine nuts, I've got some pine nuts here, and what I meant to say was Brazil nuts, which I used to make a Brazil nut parmesan to top salads with. It's amazing. It's basically just parmesan. The way you make it is Brazil nuts and garlic, and if you want, you can add a little nutritional yeast, and it's as simple as that. You can also add salt or other spices, but that's usually what I add. The next shelf down is more of my boyfriend's things, but I've got some granola here that I use to top onto smoothie bowls. So I'll make a delicious thick smoothie and put fresh fruit on it or dried fruit, and then top it with granola too. And there's an organic, what is it, hazelnut and date granola, which is really nice here. Then down here we've got some flour if we use it for baking or thickening sauces and that kind of thing. Popcorn, some of my boyfriend's pasta and rice, and then lentils as well. So we use a lot of that in mixtures of Pepsi's food because he eats a cooked homemade vegan diet with also some raw foods mixed in. Then my boyfriend also has his noodles, which are instant noodles, really convenient. And on the next shelf down, we have some more kind of staple items. One of these, they're called Better Chips. They are a cooked item, but they are just slices of coconut that are roasted with sea salt and coconut sap syrup. And it is really, really good. If I had a dehydrator, I'd probably try making these myself because they are expensive. I'm not partnered with these guys, but they are just really, really good. I think they're a Scandinavian or Danish product, and they're delicious. The next thing we have down here are some beans for Pepsi's food, some coconut milk, which is also usually for Pepsi's food or my boyfriend's food, some more beans, sun-dried tomatoes that are packed in oil or water, I'm not sure which, agar-agar, which can be used in raw desserts. It gives things like a gelatinous-like texture without using gelatin. Then I've got cashew milk that I use for smoothies or raw desserts. The other item I have in here are banana chips, and Pepsi loves banana chips. They're his favorite. They're basically unripe bananas that have been either baked or fried in coconut oil. They're one of his favorite snacks. He will do anything for banana chips. Then at the very bottom, we've just got an assortment of bags. Tortilla chips, we use some, I don't know, some of the area down below to store things like, I don't know, beer and pop for if people come to visit. And then also I love having crystallized ginger, especially when I'm on campaign with Sea Shepherd, because I get seasick very easily, and crystallized ginger helps my stomach a lot if I'm ever feeling any stomach upsets from anything. Also, beside the pantry, I've got another little rack that we use to store food. I've got some bread and wraps on top, and on the second shelf I've got a big bag of almonds, dates, I've got dried strawberries, and about 10 of these raw bars. Some of them are cocoa raw bars, and some of them are cashew raw bars. They're really good. And then on the next shelf, we store some sweet potatoes or any veggies that don't have to be in the fridge. As well, I also have about 20 containers of dates stored for the winter. These are really delicious, fresh Maserati dates. So this was my pantry tour. This is pretty much everything we have, except for behind the camera here, we have some beans stored on the counter with some oat milk just sitting out in the open because we only have so much storage and live in a tiny home. If you want to see a fridge and freezer tour, which I can do a video of as well, give this video a thumbs up. I can show you how I manage my food because it's very different than having a full-size fridge that you can pack full of fresh produce. So I can show you how I shop and how that differs a lot living in a tiny home with limited storage compared to a regular home. So I hope you enjoyed this pantry tour. If you have any questions about living in a tiny home or the food that I store here, post them in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.